This is my 1994 Ford F150 with the inline 6 bolted up to an E40D automatic transmission, and I believe we have 308 gears on this. I got it in trade for some DeWalt tools. Came with a bunch of parts done, like some new fuel tanks and pumps, as well as fillers. Someone tried to clean up the frame a little, and I've been just spraying it with some of that white stuff there, which is a crud cutter, rust dissolver, and inhibitor. Comes with the bed right there. A little bit of rust in the wheel wells, but otherwise it's pretty much all together. It just did not run right. And I bought it from a buddy who did a bunch of work on it, and he just couldn't figure it out. He's much more mechanically inclined than I am, so it was probably a poor decision, but I bought it anyways since I got it in trade for so cheap, and it had so much of the brunt work done to it already. What actually turned out to be the problem was about the last thing that your average mechanic, I guess, would check on these things, or maybe someone who's more specialized would realize, was down there, the ECM. My ECM had gone bad and was essentially flooding out the motor, especially on cylinders 1, 2, and 6. So it was essentially running on 3, 4, and 5, which wasn't very well if it did run at all. Sometimes it wouldn't start. So how did I figure that out? Well, I did a fuel pressure test. It was good. I did compression tests. They were good. I pulled some sensors, tried running it without, your idle air control valve, your map sensor, stuff like that, TPS sensor, just to get it to default. Still didn't run. I tried doing a noid light check. We were getting some ignition. I did some spark tests, and they were a little funky at first, I think because they were so fuel fouled. So I did replace the spark plugs again, even though they were done, and the wires were also done, but they're a little dirty from all the work in and out of the bay. I checked some vacuum lines, nothing there. What led me to the ECM over there was actually the fuel pumps. See, they were running non-stop, and I come to find out that is a symptom of a truck that may have a bad ECM. So if you pull in this box here, if you pull your fuel pump relay, which, if I could pop this open real quick, hinges from that side, that's right, is this one right here, your fuel pump relay on these, I believe 91 through 96 should be this one. Check your manual to double check me, but if you pull that and it stops running, then you don't have ground short or anything like that because it's stopping at the relay. Pull the ECM and it stops running, then it's more likely an ECM issue. Obviously, there are more in-depth tests you can do, like checking for actual ground or positive shorts, along the frame rail, along your wires that run down the back, all the way to the fuel pumps. But for me, I was fairly confident after pulling one, swapping relays. I swapped my horn relay. It was most likely the ECM. So I bought a remanufactured ECM from Blue Streak Electronics, and it did in fact work for me. Started right up after I put those new plugs in and cleared the fuel foul with some brake parts cleaner and let the cylinders air out. Started right up, ran real great, and it is now a fairly happy truck. It actually did shoot the belt on me after running for like 10 or so minutes because the last belt was seated wrong. So hopefully the new belt will solve that. Otherwise, we might have to dig in and try and see if our pulley's off kilter. It looks to be fairly straight, but our tensioner pulley, that is. But yeah, otherwise this seems to be a pretty solid little work truck for the price I got it. It is going to need regular truck things from sitting. It sat for, to my knowledge, like 5-10 years, somewhere in there. Needs wheels real bad, needs brakes terribly worse, needs a brake booster. So I'm doing the booster there, the master cylinder, doing rotors, calipers, pads all around. Back here, doing drums, wheel cylinders, all the hardware and whatnot. Hoses, definitely need those hoses done. Back one's not terrible, front one's pretty cracked and torn. It actually got the worst of the rust in the front end of this truck. Frame's pretty much all there for a northeastern vehicle. It's very solid. U-joints are absolutely shot. I've been soaking them and several other parts, but if I just, you could see that off the rear differential there, we're not moving, but the drive shaft is. All that's U-joint play, so they are absolutely cooked. Can't think of much else this truck needs right now. Obviously it will need some shock work, suspension work, stuff like that, just to get running, going happily again. But for now, just to get it on the road and driving, we're gonna do brakes all around, basically a brake system. Get some new bed bolts on there, which actually came with the truck. And the shoes also came with the truck for the brakes. So I did get a lot of good parts. Oh, and that reminds me, up front here, I did also put in a Cardone new distributor down there, and I timed it in to the best of my ability while it was running. Let's take a look at the interior here. I've been doing a little bit of work on that as well. I started cleaning out down here. You can see we have some pretty bad rust. It got rid of our little like pinch weld that holds the weather stripping, but otherwise it's pretty much all there. I've owned and seen trucks with much worse. I'm sure the floor pan could have been rotted out, but it's a very basic vehicle. No AC, little radio in there, it doesn't work yet. Very simple, needs some trim, needs some work there. Only 150,000 on this truck, which for the inline six, to my knowledge, relatively low, and should be a good long runner. So I will start it up maybe in the next video or next clip when I get a belt on it, but it does start right up now and run pretty damn good. Cab corners are also there. Besides that little bit of rot in the interior, we still have our whole cab corner, and our rocker panels are not cooked or gone or anything like that. Really the most rust, like I said, is on the front end. We have some rust under the cab mounts. There's also some rust in the wheel wells of the old bed. Probably just gonna try and clean that up to the best of my ability for now. Should be fine. That's it. I did also just want to throw some pictures of my ECM up on screen here and just show you what I did before I went ahead and bought one. I mean, you could see it's pretty well and corroded, just coming out of the cab. Those capacitors for 30 years, you know, started leaking and eating away at the board. So I did recap it. I got some capacitors online, some decent like 3K lifespan ones. You know, and you get the right microfarad and voltage match, and they should work for you. The problem with my board is, I mean, as you can see in some of these pictures, the traces are just eaten up. So it's going to need some jumpers and some PCB repair. I mean, as long as it's the top layers, you could probably just get some jumpers on there and it should fix it up. But in my case, I really didn't have the confidence or potentially the skill to get jumpers on these little traces. I definitely don't have the tools. I could just do basic soldering right now. So it was definitely worth it for me to just buy a good old reman ECM and you know, get the truck started that way. But you definitely can rebuild these ECMs, and there's companies that will rebuild them for you. So even if you buy a reman, hold on to that old one, and someone out there will either fix it, buy it off you, or do something with it. But these things really are kind of the silent killer of these trucks. I mean, I went to the yard, and every single Ford, you know, OBS truck that I was finding had their ECMs pulled. So as inconvenient and inconsistent as it might seem for them to go bad, they definitely are, and I had quite a difficult time finding mine. So make sure you just, you know, match up those Ford part numbers and your programming number and all that, and I'm sure you can find one that works for your truck, get her running again. So yeah, just something to keep an eye out for. I also had suspected that maybe it was a cam or valve issue on this vehicle,
And I did a leak down test, and each cylinder was fine. I was worried maybe it was a stuck lifter or something like that. Clearly, in this case, it was not. But that's another route to go if you're having some strange running issues. You can always, you know, peek down in your valve cover, see how it looks. This motor's real sludged up, but it still does run fine. And I'm guessing it just sat for a long while with some mucky conventional in it. But these things are pretty reliable. So if you find one and you're having a similar issue, hopefully maybe taking a look at that ECM will solve your problem, and you could get it repaired, maybe replaced. Find a junkyard one that's better than yours, get some jumpers or caps on it, and get it going again. So yeah, hopefully this helps.